Hello, and thank you for being here at Infidelity Tales Lab. Your presence makes sharing these stories worthwhile. Tell us, where are you tuning in from today? Big city? Small town? Share with us in the comments. Now let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Architect's Foundation. Shane Greenwood stood before the scale model of his latest creation, the Apex Tower. His fingers traced the elegant curves of the miniature structure, a testament to months of meticulous planning and sleepless nights. At 48 stories high, the real building would transform the city's skyline, adding his signature to the urban canvas. Mr. Greenwood, the board is ready for you, Ruth Riley announced, her heels clicking against the floor as she approached. Her tailored suit and sharp gaze matched the professional atmosphere of the office. Thank you, Ruth. Shane adjusted his tie, a habit born from years of high-stakes presentations. Has marketing prepared the renders? Already loaded on the system. I've also included the sustainability reports you requested. Ruth handed him a leather portfolio. They won't find a single flaw to criticize. Shane's lips curved into a slight smile. Ruth had been his right hand for the past decade, anticipating his needs before he voiced them. In the cutthroat world of architecture, such loyalty was rare and invaluable. The boardroom fell silent as Shane entered. Senior partners and investors sat around the massive table, their expressions a mix of anticipation and scrutiny. Shane didn't waste time with pleasantries. Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at the future of sustainable architecture. He gestured toward the screen where the Apex Tower materialized in stunning detail. Solar-integrated glass panels, rainwater harvesting systems, and a revolutionary vertical garden that will reduce the building's carbon footprint by 60%. For the next hour, Shane commanded the room. Questions flew at him from all directions, each one met with precise, confident responses. By the time he concluded, even the most skeptical board members were nodding in approval. Exceptional work, Shane. Martin Chun, the lead investor, clasped his shoulder. You've outdone yourself again. Thank you, Martin. We'll break ground next month. As the room cleared, Ruth approached with a schedule. Your wife called twice. She wants to know if you'll be home for dinner. Shane checked his watch. 6:30. Tell her I'll be there by 8. The drive home gave Shane time to decompress. His penthouse occupied the top floor of one of his earlier designs, a building that had won him international recognition 5 years ago. The elevator opened directly into his private foyer, where the sound of voices drifted from the kitchen. Darling, you're home? Natalie glided toward him, her designer dress and perfectly styled hair making her look like she'd stepped off a magazine cover. She pressed a kiss to his cheek, her perfume lingering in the air. Cameron's joined us for dinner. Shane's jaw tightened imperceptibly. His younger brother sat at the kitchen island, drinking wine and chatting with Lily, who barely looked up from her phone to acknowledge her father's presence. Shane, Cameron's enthusiasm seemed forced. Just heard about the Apex Tower approval. Dad's thrilled. Is he? Shane removed his jacket. Strange he hasn't called to tell me himself. Oh, you know how busy he is with the merger. Cameron waved dismissively. The company's expanding rapidly. Thanks to your brilliant strategy, I'm sure. The sarcasm in Shane's voice was subtle but sharp. Natalie intervened smoothly. Dinner's ready. Lily put the phone away. Their 12-year-old daughter sighed dramatically but complied. Shane studied her face, noting for the 100th time how little she resembled him. Her features were delicate, like Natalie's, but something about her smile reminded him of someone else. How's school, Lily? Shane attempted conversation. Fine. She pushed her food around the plate. She got an A on her art project, Cameron chimed in. Quite talented, just like her mother. Shane noticed the way Natalie's eyes lingered on Cameron, the slight flush in her cheeks. But he dismissed it, attributing it to the wine. Later that evening, after Cameron left and Lily retreated to her room, Shane found himself in his home office. Ruth's text message glowed on his phone. We need to talk. It's important. Can it wait until morning? He replied. It's about your wife and Cameron. You should know. Shane's fingers hovered over the keyboard. After a moment's hesitation, he typed, my office, 7 a.m. The next morning, Ruth paced his office, her usually composed demeanor fractured by nervous energy. I wouldn't say this if I wasn't certain, she began. Yesterday, while you were in the board meeting, I saw them. Cameron and Natalie in the parking garage. They were intimate. Shane's expression remained unchanged, but his grip on his coffee cup tightened. Explain? They were kissing. And from their conversation, it's been going on for a while. Ruth met his gaze steadily. There's more. I've noticed discrepancies in your joint account statements. Show me. Ruth pulled out a file, spreading bank statements across his desk. Large withdrawals, luxury purchases, transfers to unknown accounts. All made by Natalie. I should have seen it sooner. Shane's voice was dangerously quiet. What are you going to do? Shane stood, walking to the window that overlooked the city he'd helped shape. His reflection stared back at him, and in it, he saw the boy who had always worked harder, fought longer, and survived despite everyone's expectations. Nothing. Yet, he turned to Ruth. I need you to document everything. Every meeting, every transaction, every phone call. Can you do that? Of course. Ruth hesitated. Shane, I'm sorry. Don't be. His smile was cold. They should be. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings and calls, but Shane's mind worked on a different problem. He remembered his childhood, competing with Cameron for every scrap of attention. While Shane earned scholarships and awards, Cameron charmed his way through life. Their parents, especially Herman, had always favored Cameron's easy manner over Shane's driven intensity. That evening, Shane arrived home earlier than usual. The penthouse was quiet except for muffled voices from the master bedroom. He approached silently, years of suppressed suspicion crystallizing into certainty. We need to be careful. Natalie's voice drifted through the door. Shane's been asking questions about the accounts. Don't worry, Cameron replied. Dad's already agreed to change the inheritance distribution. Once that's done, Shane stepped back, his face a mask of controlled fury. In his mind, pieces began falling into place. Lily's resemblance to Cameron, Natalie's increasing demands, his brother's constant presence in their lives. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. Shelby? It's Shane. Remember when you said you owed me a favor? I need the best private investigator you know. And Shelby. This stays between us. As he hung up, Shane looked at his reflection in the hallway mirror. The man who stared back wasn't the successful architect everyone knew. This was someone else, someone who had learned long ago that betrayal came with a price. And he intended to collect. Chapter 2, Cracks in the Facade. Natalie's laughter echoed through the penthouse, accompanied by the clink of wine glasses. Shane paused outside the door, listening to his wife entertain her best friend, Celeste Sheridan. You should have seen his face when I bought the new Cartier bracelet. Natalie's voice carried a note of smug satisfaction. He just nodded and went back to his precious blueprints. Men like Shane are all the same, Celeste replied. They think providing material things makes up for their emotional absence. Cameron's different. He notices everything. My new perfume, my haircut. He makes me feel alive. Shane's hand tightened on his briefcase, but he maintained his composure as he entered. The women's conversation cut off abruptly, replaced by artificial smiles. Shane, darling, Natalie's voice was honey-sweet. You're home early. Don't let me interrupt. He headed toward his office, noting how Celeste's eyes followed him with calculated interest. Once alone, Shane opened his laptop and accessed the private investigator's latest report. Photos appeared on his screen, Natalie and Cameron at various locations, their body language intimate and familiar. Bank statements showed regular transfers from their joint account to a separate one in Natalie's name. His phone buzzed, a message from Ruth. Herman wants to see you tomorrow. Cameron's been spreading stories at the company. Shane's reply was brief. Time, 9 a.m. Be prepared. The next morning, Shane entered his father's office at precisely 9. Herman Winters sat behind his massive desk, his presence as imposing as ever. Alice, Shane's mother, stood by the window, her fingers nervously twisting her pearl necklace. Son, Herman's voice was grave. We need to discuss your behavior. Shane raised an eyebrow. My behavior? Cameron tells me you've been unstable lately. Aggressive. Paranoid? Herman shuffled some papers. He's worried about you. Is he? Shane's tone remained neutral. And what exactly has my dear brother told you? He says you've been accusing Natalie of infidelity, Alice interjected. That's not like you, Shane. She's such a lovely girl. Mother, when was the last time you actually spoke with Natalie? Not just exchanged pleasantries, but really talked. Alice faltered. Well, That's not the point, Herman cut in. The point is, your behavior is affecting the family's reputation. Cameron suggested. Of course he did. Shane's interruption was sharp. Tell me, Father, have you ever wondered why Cameron's so invested in my marriage? He cares about you. He cares about himself. Shane stood. But please continue allowing him to manipulate you. It's what you've always done best. Shane? Alice gasped. I have work to do. He moved toward the door, then paused. By the way, how's the merger going? The one Cameron orchestrated. Herman's face reddened. What about it? You might want to check the numbers again. Carefully. With that, Shane left, leaving his parents in stunned silence. Back at his office, Ruth was waiting with fresh intel. Natalie's been meeting with divorce lawyers. Let her. Shane reviewed the documents on his desk. What else? Cameron's been spreading rumors among your clients, suggesting you're unstable, unreliable. Has anyone withdrawn from projects? No, but... Then let him talk. Shane's phone buzzed with a text from Shelby. DNA results are in. Meeting in 20? Shane grabbed his coat. Cancel my afternoon appointments. At Shelby's office, the lawyer's expression told him everything before she spoke. I ran the test twice, she said, sliding an envelope across her desk. Shane read the results, his face betraying nothing. But his hands, usually steady, trembled slightly. What do you need? Shelby asked quietly. Time. Shane folded the paper carefully. An absolute discretion. That evening, Shane worked late, avoiding the tension at home. Ruth brought him dinner, hovering uncertainly. You should eat something, she insisted. Did you know? He asked suddenly. About Lily? Ruth's hesitation was answer enough. I suspected. The timing, when Natalie got pregnant. Shane nodded slowly. 12 years. They've been lying to me for 12 years. What will you do? What I've always done. His smile was razor sharp. I'll plan. I'll wait. And then I'll show them exactly who they're dealing with. Later that night, Shane finally returned home. The penthouse was dark except for a light in Lily's room. He stood in her doorway, watching her sleep. Her features, so like Cameron's, seemed to mock him now. His phone vibrated. Another text from Natalie. Where are you? We need to talk. Shane didn't reply. Instead, he went to his office and began making calls. By morning, certain accounts would be frozen, specific documents would be in place, and the first phase of his response would begin. Because Shane Greenwood hadn't become successful by being forgiving. He'd done it by being ruthless when necessary. And now, as he surveyed the life others had built on his foundations of trust, he realized it was time to bring everything crashing down. Chapter 3. The Inheritance Gambit. The family gathered in Herman Winter's study, tension thick in the air. Shane sat apart from the others, observing as his father cleared his throat to address them. We've made some decisions regarding the family inheritance, Herman announced, his eyes avoiding Shane's direct gaze. Given recent circumstances, we believe it's best to ensure financial security for those who need it most. Of course, Cameron interjected smoothly. We understand this might come as a surprise to some. Shane noticed how Natalie's hand rested on Cameron's arm, a gesture too intimate for in-laws. His mother, Alice, fidgeted with her jewelry, a nervous tell she'd had since his childhood. Herman continued, the bulk of the estate will be divided between Cameron, Natalie, and Lily. Shane, given your success. You mean given my independence? Shane interrupted, his voice cutting through the room like steel. Let's be honest, Father. This isn't about need. It's about control. Now, Shane, Alice began, your brother has always been more dependent on family support. Because you've enabled him to be. Shane stood, buttoning his suit jacket. Tell me, have you reviewed the merger documents yet? Cameron's face paled slightly. That's not relevant to this discussion, isn't it? Shane pulled out a folder. Ruth, would you join us, please? Ruth entered, carrying a laptop and additional documents. Her presence seemed to unsettle Cameron and Natalie. What's she doing here? Natalie demanded. Providing clarity, Shane nodded to Ruth, who began distributing papers. These are records of every transaction made from my joint account with Natalie over the past 5 years. Note the patterns of withdrawal and transfer. Herman adjusted his glasses, frowning as he reviewed the documents. These amounts. Keep reading, Shane suggested. You'll find it interesting how many transfers coincide with Cameron's business decisions. This is ridiculous. Cameron stood, his charm cracking. Father, he's trying to manipulate you. Like you manipulated the merger details? Shane's voice remained eerily calm. Ruth, show them the real numbers. Ruth projected spreadsheets onto the study's wall. Row after row of figures revealed discrepancies, hidden losses, and suspicious patterns. That's enough. Natalie's voice shook. This is about inheritance, not business. This is about truth, Shane corrected her. Something this family seems to have forgotten. He produced another envelope, this one containing the DNA results. Father, Mother, before you finalize your decisions, you might want to know exactly who you're choosing to support. The room fell silent as Herman read the results, his face growing increasingly pale. Alice peered over his shoulder, gasping as she understood. Lily, she whispered, is Cameron's daughter, Shane finished. Has been all along. Quite the family secret. Wouldn't you say, brother? Cameron lunged forward, but Shane's stance didn't waver. You had no right. I had every right. Just as I have the right to reveal exactly how you've been embezzling from the company through this merger. Herman's voice shook with rage. Cameron, is this true? Father, I can explain. Explain what? Shane's voice cut through Cameron's protests. How you seduced my wife. How you've been stealing from the family company. Or how you've spent years manipulating our parents against me. Natalie attempted to intervene. Shane, please. Save it. He turned to his parents. You wanted to know why I've been unstable lately? Well, now you know. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Herman stood, his authority reasserting itself. Alice, call our lawyer. Now. Already done, Ruth announced. Shelby Lutz is waiting outside. Shelby entered, carrying a thick portfolio, her professional demeanor adding gravity to the situation. Mr. Winters, I've prepared several documents that require your immediate attention. This is a family matter, Cameron protested, but his voice lacked conviction. It became a legal matter, Shelby countered, when you committed fraud against both your brother and your father's company. Herman sank into his chair, the weight of revelation evident in his posture. All this time, I tried to warn you, Shane said quietly. Every time I questioned Cameron's decisions, every time I pointed out discrepancies. But you didn't want to hear it from your rebellious son, did you? Alice approached Shane, tears in her eyes. We never meant. Save your excuses. Shane cut her off. I'm not here for apologies. I'm here for justice. Shelby spread documents across Herman's desk. These papers outline the full extent of the financial fraud. We've also prepared a complete audit of the merger, revealing how Mr. Cameron Winters orchestrated significant losses while personally profiting through hidden accounts. You can't prove any of this, Cameron snarled, but his face had lost all color. Actually, Ruth interjected, we can. Every transaction, every meeting, every phone call, it's all documented, including your recent attempts to sabotage Shane's architectural projects. Natalie, who had remained uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly stood. This is harassment. I'll file for divorce. By all means, Shane interrupted, his voice glacial. Shelby has those papers ready too, along with evidence of your embezzlement from our joint accounts. I'm sure the police would be very interested in your financial activities. The police? Natalie's composure cracked. Did you think I wouldn't notice? That I was too absorbed in my work to see what was happening in my own home. Shane's laugh was hollow. I built an empire by paying attention to details. Did you really believe I wouldn't notice the signs in my own life? Herman finally spoke, his voice heavy with authority. Cameron, Natalie, you will both stay right here until we sort this out. Alice, call security. Make sure they don't leave the premises. Father, Cameron protested. Enough. Herman thundered. You've done enough damage. He turned to Shane. Si, we should have listened. Yes, you should have. Shane buttoned his suit jacket. Shelby will handle the legal proceedings. Ruth has all the documentation you need. I trust you'll make the right decision about the inheritance now. Herman nodded slowly, understanding the full implications of his earlier mistake. Good. Shane moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing. Lily needs to be told the truth. Not for my sake, but for hers. She deserves to know who her real father is. Shane, please. Natalie begged. Don't do this to her. You did this to her, he replied without turning around. You and Cameron. I just exposed the truth. As Shane left the study, the sounds of Cameron and Natalie's protests faded behind him. Ruth followed, carrying the damning documentation that would ensure justice was served. What now? She asked quietly. Now. Shane checked his watch. Now we go back to work. I have a building to complete, and they have a price to pay. The elevator doors closed on the scene of chaos he'd left behind. Shane straightened his tie, his reflection in the polished doors showing a man unburdened by pretense. The foundation of lies had crumbled, but unlike the buildings he designed, this was one structure he had no intention of rebuilding. Chapter 4: The Unveiling. The morning sun glinted off the steel and glass of the Winters Corporation headquarters as Shane strode through the lobby. Employees scattered from his path, sensing the cold determination radiating from his presence. In his briefcase, he carried the documents that would shatter his family's carefully constructed lies. Mr. Greenwood, his father's secretary, stammered, "They're not expecting you." Shane pushed past her, throwing open the double doors to Herman's office. His parents sat with their usual morning coffee, the picture of affluent comfort about to be destroyed. Shane? Alice clutched her pearl necklace. What's the meaning of? Read it. He placed the DNA results on Herman's desk. All of it. Herman's hands trembled as he picked up the papers. The silence stretched as his eyes moved across the page, color draining from his face. This can't be right. I had it tested twice. Shane's voice carried the weight of steel. Your precious Cameron, the son you've always favored, has been sleeping with my wife for years. Lily is his daughter. Alice snatched the papers, her eyes widening in horror. No, there must be some mistake. Like the mistake of planning to disinherit me in favor of them? Shane's laugh held no humor. Or the mistake of believing Cameron's lies about my stability? Son, Herman pushed back from his desk. We never meant to destroy my life? To reward the people who betrayed me? Tell me, Father, what exactly did you mean to do? The door opened as Ruth entered, carrying a thick folder. The financial records you requested, Mr. Greenwood. What records? Herman demanded. Evidence of Cameron's embezzlement through the merger. Bank statements showing how he and Natalie have been stealing from both the company and my personal accounts. Shane spread the documents across the desk. Would you like to see how your favored son has been repaying your trust? Alice began to weep quietly as Herman pored over the evidence. His face grew increasingly red with each page he turned. How long have you known? Herman's voice was hoarse. Long enough to build an ironclad case. Shane remained standing, his posture rigid. The question is, what are you going to do about it? We'll fix this, Herman declared, reaching for his phone. I'll call an emergency board meeting. You'll do nothing of the sort. Shane's command froze his father's hand. Not yet. First, you're going to listen to exactly how this will play out. Ruth distributed more documents as Shane outlined his demands. The family inheritance would be restructured. Cameron would be removed from his position. Most importantly, his parents would support his next moves without question. You're asking us to destroy your brother, Alice whispered. He's not my brother anymore. Shane's voice cut through the room. He's a thief who stole my life, my trust, and my child. Now he'll learn what that costs. Herman studied his eldest son, seeing him perhaps for the first time. Gone was the rebellious boy they'd dismissed. In his place stood a man capable of calculated destruction. What do you need from us? Herman asked finally. Your silence, your support, and your trust, though I know how difficult that is for you where I'm concerned. Alice reached for her son's hand, but Shane stepped back. We were wrong about you. About everything. Yes, you were. He gathered the documents. Ruth will provide you with instructions. Follow them exactly. As Shane turned to leave, Herman called out, "Son, I'm sorry." Shane paused at the door. "Save your apologies. They won't change what's coming." The next phase began immediately. Ruth coordinated with Shelby to file the necessary paperwork while Shane returned to his office. He had a different confrontation to prepare for. Natalie arrived at noon, summoned by a carefully worded message. She swept in wearing designer clothes bought with his money, her face a mask of practiced concern. "Darling, you've been so distant lately. I've been worried." "Sit down, Natalie." Something in his tone made her comply instantly. Shane remained behind his desk, studying the woman who had shared his bed while betraying everything he'd built. "How long?" he asked quietly. "I don't understand." "Don't." His hands slammed down on the desk, making her jump. "No more lies. How long have you been sleeping with my brother?" Color drained from her face. "Who told you?" "Lily is his daughter." Shane's words fell like stones into still water. "Did you laugh about it? You and Cameron raising his child in my home, spending my money." "Shane, please, I can explain." "Can you explain the money you've stolen? The accounts you've drained?" He pushed bank statements across the desk. "Or should we discuss the inheritance scheme you and Cameron planned with my parents?" Natalie's composure cracked. "You weren't supposed to find out like this." "No, I was supposed to remain ignorant while you and my brother stripped me of everything." Shane stood slowly. "Did you really think I wouldn't discover the truth? What are you going to do?" "I'm going to take back everything you stole." His smile made her shrink back. "But first, I'm going to watch you explain to our daughter. No, to your and Cameron's daughter, exactly what kind of parent she has." "You wouldn't." "I already have." Shane pressed a button on his phone. "Ruth." The door opened, revealing Ruth with a tear-stained Lily. The girl's eyes were wide with confusion and betrayal as she stared at her mother. "Why?" Lily's voice trembled. "Why did you lie to me?" Natalie reached for her daughter, but Lily backed away. "Sweetheart, it's complicated." "No," Shane interrupted. "For once in your life, tell her the truth. Tell her how you chose money and convenience over honesty. Tell her how you and Cameron planned to take everything from me while using my name, my resources, my life." "I hate you," Lily whispered to her mother. "I hate both of you." Ruth gently led the girl out, leaving Shane and Natalie alone. The silence stretched between them like a chasm filled with 12 years of lies. "The divorce papers will be delivered this afternoon," Shane said finally. "Sign them, or I'll ensure you and Cameron face criminal charges for fraud." "You can't do this." "I already have." He opened his office door. "Get out of my office. Get out of my life. And remember, this is only the beginning." As Natalie fled, Ruth returned with an update. "Cameron's on his way up. He's furious." "Good." Shane straightened his tie. "Let's show my brother exactly who he's dealing with." The stage was set for the next act in Shane's carefully orchestrated destruction of those who had betrayed him. He'd torn down the facade of their lies. Now he would dismantle their lives piece by careful piece until nothing remained but the ruins of their own making. Chapter 5. The Descent into Chaos. Cameron burst into the office, building like a storm, his usual charm replaced by barely contained rage. Security moved to stop him, but Shane waved them off through the lobby cameras. "Let him come. Let him see what awaited." "You bastard." Cameron's voice echoed through the executive floor. "What did you tell them?" Shane didn't look up from his computer. "I told them the truth. Novel concept for you, I'm sure. You had no right to expose your affair with my wife, to reveal that Lily is your daughter, to uncover your embezzlement." Now Shane stood, his calm a stark contrast to Cameron's fury. "Tell me, brother, which truth has you so upset?" Cameron's fist flew toward Shane's face, but Shane caught his wrist with surprising strength. "Careful. Assault charges won't help your current situation. You've ruined everything." "No." Shane's grip tightened until Cameron winced. "You did that yourself. I merely exposed what you built on lies." Ruth entered with Shelby, both carrying additional documentation. "The board members are assembled, Mr. Greenwood. They're waiting for your presentation." "What presentation?" Cameron's face paled. "The one detailing your creative accounting during the merger." Shane released his brother's wrist. "Would you like to join us?" I'm sure the board would appreciate your explanation of where their money went. You can't prove anything. Shelby stepped forward, her professional demeanor masking her disgust. We have proof of everything, Mr. Young. Bank transfers, falsified documents, insider trading. Shall I continue? Cameron's swagger crumbled. Shane, we can work this out. We're family. Family? Shane's laugh was sharp enough to cut. Was it family when you slept with my wife? When you raised your daughter in my home? When you convinced our parents to disinherit me? I can explain. Save it for the board. Shane gathered his papers. And the police, if necessary. As they walked to the boardroom, Cameron tried one last plea. Think about Lily. She needs her father. Shane slammed him against the wall, his control finally cracking. I raised her for 12 years while you played uncle. You want to talk about needs? Where were her needs when you and Natalie decided to build her life on lies? Ruth cleared her throat. The board is waiting. Shane released Cameron, straightening his suit. After you, brother. Time to face your reckoning. The boardroom fell silent as they entered. Herman sat at the head of the table, his face a mask of controlled anger. The evidence was damning. Funds diverted through shell companies, contracts awarded to Cameron's hidden partners, systematic theft disguised as business expenses. Mr. Young, the head of the audit committee, spoke first. Would you care to explain these discrepancies? Cameron looked to Herman for support, finding none. His father's eyes held only disappointment and rage. I was trying to protect the company. By stealing from it? Shane interrupted. By undermining its projects? By using insider information to benefit your partners? The next hour stripped away Cameron's remaining dignity. Each question revealed another layer of deception. Each answer dug his grave deeper. The board will need to discuss appropriate actions, the chairman announced finally. Mr. Young, please surrender your company credentials and leave the premises. Father, please. Get out. Herman's voice shook with suppressed fury. You're no longer welcome here. As security escorted Cameron out, Natalie waited in the lobby. Her face crumpled when she saw his defeated expression. It's over, he told her. He knew everything. Not everything, she replied, but Shane had anticipated this too. Ruth approached them, her tablet displaying their private messages, their secret accounts, their entire conspiracy laid bare. Ms. Fritz, Ruth's voice carried through the lobby. Your personal items have been removed from Mr. Greenwood's penthouse. The divorce papers await your signature. Natalie's mask finally shattered. You can't just erase 12 years. You did that yourself, Ruth replied. Mr. Greenwood is simply making it official. As they left the building, their phones buzzed simultaneously. Their joint accounts were frozen. Their credit cards declined. Their carefully constructed world began to crumble. But Shane wasn't finished. This was merely the foundation of their destruction. In his office, he reviewed the next phase with Shelby and Ruth. Their friends will abandon them first, Shelby predicted. The social circle lives on appearance and success. Celeste is already distancing herself, Ruth added. She called twice asking about Natalie's accounts. Good. Shane studied the city below, the empire he'd built while they plotted behind his back. Let them feel what it's like to lose everything they thought was secure. They'll fight back, Shelby warned. They're desperate now. Let them. Shane's smile held no warmth. I'm counting on it. The next weeks proved Shelby right. Cameron and Natalie launched their counterattack, spreading rumors of Shane's instability, his cruelty, his supposed abuse. Celeste played her part, whispering stories in influential ears. But Shane had prepared for this too. Ruth's documentation painted a different picture of their fraud, their affair, their manipulation. Each accusation they made was met with evidence of their own misdeeds. Their attempts to sabotage his projects backfired. Their whispers reached deaf ears. Their desperation grew with each failed attack. They're getting reckless, Ruth reported one evening. Cameron tried to access the company's servers. Natalie's been calling your clients. Let them dig their own graves. Shane reviewed the latest reports. How's Lily? Adjusting. The therapist says she's angry, but processing the truth. Make sure she has everything she needs. Despite everything, he couldn't hate the child they'd used as a pawn, but maintain distance. She needs to understand her parents' choices. The war continued, fought in boardrooms and social circles, in legal documents and financial transactions. Shane watched as their desperation mounted, each failed attempt pushing them closer to the edge. "You're destroying them," Shelby observed during a late-night strategy session. "They destroyed themselves," Shane corrected. "I'm simply ensuring they face the consequences." But the consequences were only beginning. The real devastation was yet to come, and Shane intended to ensure they felt the full weight of their betrayal. Chapter 6: The Price of Betrayal. The headline spread across the financial section. Winters Corp merger scandal exposed. Shane read them with grim satisfaction, knowing each word drove another nail into Cameron and Natalie's coffin. "They're calling for interviews," Ruth announced, reviewing her tablet. "The Journal, the Times, even television networks. Decline them all?" Shane didn't need public attention. The truth was doing its work without his voice. The scandal consumed the business world. Cameron's name became toxic, his former contacts abandoning him with practiced efficiency. Natalie found her social circle shrinking as former friends suddenly remembered prior engagements. "Miss Sheridan called again," Ruth reported. "She's offering information about Natalie in exchange for considerations." "Record the call," Shane instructed. "Add it to the evidence. Celeste will learn loyalty can't be bought." The pressure mounted. Cameron's hidden partners, sensing disaster, turned on him. Documents appeared revealing his deeper frauds, his secret deals, his betrayals extending beyond family. Natalie's carefully cultivated image crumbled. Her designer clothes couldn't hide the strain, her practiced smile cracking under the weight of public scrutiny. "They tried to access your office last night," security reported. "We have it on camera." Shane watched the footage. Cameron and Natalie, desperate and disheveled, attempting to steal documents they thought would save them. "Forward this to the police. Let them add breaking and entering to their crimes." But the real blow came from Herman. The board meeting was brief but devastating. "Given the evidence of extensive fraud," Herman announced, his voice heavy with authority, "the board has voted to pursue full criminal charges against Cameron Young and all associated parties." Cameron, standing before his former colleagues, finally broke. "You can't do this. I'm your son." "No." Herman's reply cut deep. "You're a criminal who happened to share my name. Guards, remove him." As Cameron was escorted out, his shouts echoing through the building, Shane watched from his office. Natalie waited in the lobby, her designer outfit now a costume that fooled no one. "It's over," Cameron told her. "They're pressing charges." Natalie's composure cracked. "This is your fault. You promised we wouldn't get caught." Their argument carried through the lobby, the final scene of their romance playing out before disgusted witnesses. Security footage would preserve their fall, another piece of evidence in Shane's collection. But the pressure was taking its toll on Shane as well. Clients hesitated, questioning his stability. Friends grew distant, unsure which rumors to believe. "Your reputation is suffering," Ruth observed, concern in her voice. "It will recover." Shane reviewed contract proposals. Truth outlasts lies. Yet the isolation grew. Dinner invitations decreased. Social events became exercises in navigating whispered conversations and veiled accusations. "They're calling you heartless," Ruth reported. "Cruel, unforgiving, good." Shane's smile was cold. "Let them understand exactly who they betrayed." Ruth remained loyal through the storm, a constant presence managing the chaos. She intercepted threats, documented evidence, and kept Shane's professional life running smoothly despite the turbulence. "Cameron's getting desperate," she reported one morning. "He's been making threats against our contractors." Shane studied the latest reports. "Increase security at all sites. Document everything." "Already done?" Ruth hesitated. "There's more. Natalie's been embezzling more than we thought. I found additional accounts." She spread the evidence across his desk: bank statements, transfer records, credit card bills. Natalie had been systematically draining their accounts for years, hiding money in offshore accounts and secret investments. "She's been bribing people," Ruth continued, "paying for stories about you, trying to damage your reputation in the industry. Forward everything to Shelby." Shane's voice remained steady. Added to the criminal charges, the pressure mounted as Cameron's desperation grew. He began showing up at project sites, threatening workers and disrupting construction. Each incident was carefully documented, each threat recorded and added to the growing file. He's becoming unhinged, Shelby warned during an emergency meeting. The threats are escalating. Let him spiral, Shane replied. Each mistake brings him closer to destruction. But Cameron's next move crossed a line. Ruth entered Shane's office one evening, her usual composure shaken. He threatened me directly, she reported. Said if I didn't help him access company files, he'd make me regret it. Shane's hand tightened on his desk. You have proof? Security cameras and witnesses. Ruth met his gaze steadily. I'm not afraid of him. No, Shane stood slowly. But he should be afraid of me. The confrontation came sooner than expected. Cameron burst into Shane's office, past security, his designer's suit disheveled and his eyes wild. You've ruined everything, he shouted. My reputation, my career, my life. You did that yourself. Shane remained seated, watching his brother unravel. Each lie, each betrayal, each theft, those were your choices. I'll destroy you, Cameron threatened. I'll burn everything you've built to the ground. Like you burned my trust, my marriage, my relationship with my daughter. Shane's voice cut like ice. You're welcome to try. I should have done more than take your wife, Cameron snarled. I should have taken everything, but you failed. Shane stood finally. And now you'll lose everything instead. Cameron lunged forward, but security had arrived. As they dragged him away, his threats echoed through the office. I'll kill you for this. You'll regret what you've done. Shane watched him go, then turned to Ruth. Record every word. Contact the police. It's time to end this. The next day, Cameron faced not just criminal charges for fraud, but additional charges for threats and harassment. His spiral had played perfectly into Shane's plan. Natalie's own desperation led her to a final mistake. She attempted to access Shane's private files, triggering security protocols he'd put in place. We caught her trying to hack your home office, Ruth reported. She was looking for anything she could use against you. Add it to the charges, Shane instructed. Let her join Cameron in explaining herself to the police. The walls closed in around them. Their attempts to fight back only hastened their fall. Each desperate move, each threat, each lie became another weapon in Shane's arsenal. They're finished, Shelby confirmed, reviewing the mounting evidence. The criminal charges alone will destroy them. Good. Shane watched the city lights below, the empire he'd protected from their scheming. But this isn't about destruction. It's about justice. Ruth approached with final reports. Cameron and Natalie's assets were frozen, their accounts emptied, their reputations in tatters. Their desperation had led them to mistakes that would cost them everything. What now? Ruth asked quietly. Now? Shane turned from the window. Now we watched them face the consequences of their choices. All of them. The stage was set for their final fall. Shane had moved his pieces, letting their own actions condemn them. As Act 2 drew to a close, he stood victorious while they faced the ruins of their betrayal. Chapter 7. The Unleashing. Ruth placed a steaming cup of coffee on Shane's desk, her movements careful and measured. You haven't slept. Sleep is a luxury I can't afford right now. Shane reviewed the documents spread across his desk, bank statements, legal files, surveillance photos. Each piece a weapon in his arsenal. What you're planning? Ruth hesitated. There are lines that shouldn't be crossed. Shane looked up, his eyes sharp. They crossed those lines first. They invaded my life, betrayed my trust, stole my daughter. I understand your anger. No, Shane interrupted. This isn't anger. This is justice. Ruth straightened, her loyalty warring with concern. At least tell me you won't resort to violence. Violence? Shane's laugh held no humor. That would be too quick, too merciful. I want them to suffer slowly, watching their world crumble piece by piece. He pulled up files on his computer, displaying a complex web of connections and transactions. See these companies? Shell corporations Cameron used to hide his theft. Each one a thread I can pull to unravel his empire. And Natalie? Her social circle is already fracturing. Celeste has been particularly helpful, trading information to save herself. Shane's smile was predatory. It's amazing how quickly rats abandon a sinking ship. The phone buzzed. A message from one of Shane's contacts in the financial sector. Another piece falling into place. It's done, he announced. The stock manipulation Cameron used? It's about to become very public. Ruth reviewed the information. This will destroy him. That's the point. The next few days unfolded according to Shane's design. News of Cameron's financial misconduct spread through business circles. Investors pulled out, partners distanced themselves, and the carefully constructed facade of success began to crack. Mr. Greenwood, his secretary interrupted. Mr. Young is here. He's demanding to see you. Let him in. Shane stood, adjusting his tie. Ruth, stay. I want to witness. Cameron burst in. His designer suit wrinkled, his face haggard. What have you done? I've done nothing, Shane replied calmly. Your own actions are catching up with you. My investors are pulling out. My partners won't return my calls. How unfortunate. Shane's voice dripped sarcasm. Perhaps you shouldn't have built your success on fraud. Cameron's desperation showed in his trembling hands. You have to stop this. We're family. Family? Shane's mask cracked slightly. Was it family when you slept with my wife? When you raised your daughter in my home? When you tried to steal my inheritance? I can explain. Save your explanations for the authorities. Shane pressed a button on his phone. Security will escort you out. As Cameron was led away, Ruth approached carefully. He'll try something desperate. I'm counting on it. Shane returned to his desk. Each mistake brings him closer to destruction. The next phase began immediately. Shane's network of contacts, built over years of business dealings, proved invaluable. Banks froze accounts, auditors discovered discrepancies, and witnesses came forward with damaging testimony. Natalie wasn't faring better. Her attempts to access their joint accounts met digital walls. Her credit cards declined. Her usual haunts suddenly unavailable. She tried to book her usual spa, Ruth reported. They claimed to be fully booked for the next year. Amazing how influence works, Shane mused. How's she handling the social isolation? Not well. Celeste hosted a charity gala last night. Natalie wasn't invited. The psychological warfare continued. Each day brought new challenges, new obstacles, new reminders of their powerlessness. Shane watched from afar, orchestrating their downfall. Herman called one evening, his voice grave. Son, are you sure about this course of action? Having second thoughts, father? No. Herman sighed. But the board is concerned about public perception. Let them be concerned. Shane's tone was firm. This ends when I say it ends. The next morning brought news of Cameron's failed attempt to secure emergency funding. His desperation had led to mistakes, violations that would prove costly. He tried to access restricted accounts, Shelby reported during their strategy meeting. We have him on multiple counts of fraud. Good. Shane reviewed the evidence. Add it to the file. When we move, I want it to be decisive. Ruth watched him with growing concern. You're not sleeping again. I'll sleep when they're destroyed. Shane's focus remained on the documents. When they understand exactly what they've lost, the pieces were falling into place. Cameron's empire crumbling, Natalie's social world imploding, their desperate attempts to fight back only accelerating their fall. They're planning something, Ruth warned. I can feel it. Let them plan. Shane's confidence was absolute. They're predictable in their desperation. The warning proved accurate. Cameron attempted one last power play, trying to rally support among Herman's old business associates. He's claiming mental instability, Shelby reported. Says you're unfit to manage your affairs. Shane's laugh was cold. Perfect. Time to spring the trap. The evidence was overwhelming. Years of documentation, witness statements, financial records. Each piece carefully preserved, waiting for this moment. Send everything to the authorities, Shane instructed. All of it? Ruth hesitated. This will destroy them completely. Yes. Shane's smile was devoid of mercy. It will. Chapter 8. The Descent of the Antagonists. The social massacre began at Celeste's annual charity gala. Natalie arrived uninvited, her designer dress a desperate attempt at normalcy. The silence that greeted her entrance spoke volumes. I'm sorry, Mrs. Greenwood, the host announced loudly. But this event is for invited guests only. Natalie's face flushed. Celeste, we've been friends for years. We're friends, Celeste corrected, her social smile razor-sharp. Before your unfortunate situation became public. The whispers followed Natalie's retreat. Former friends turned away. Conversations died at her approach. Doors that had once opened smoothly now remained firmly closed. She tried to book a table at La Maison, Ruth reported to Shane. They claimed to be fully booked until next year. How tragic. Shane reviewed the latest surveillance photos. And Cameron? Worse. His business partners are deserting him. The evidence of fraud is too damaging to ignore. The betrayal between the conspirators happened exactly as Shane had predicted. Under pressure, their alliance cracked. She's ruining everything, Cameron shouted during a meeting at their lawyer's office. If you had been more careful with the accounts. Me? Natalie's composure shattered. You promised this would work. You said Shane would never figure it out. Their argument echoed through the building, recorded by security cameras Shane had access to. Another piece of evidence, another nail in their coffin. They're turning on each other, Shelby observed during their strategy session. Just as you predicted, people like them always do. Shane's satisfaction was cold. Their loyalty extends only as far as their advantage. The pressure mounted. Cameron's attempts to salvage his business met with closed doors and unanswered calls. His former partners, sensing disaster, distanced themselves with practiced efficiency. The police want to question him about the merger fraud, Ruth announced one morning. They've found discrepancies in the offshore accounts. Anonymous tip? Shane asked. Very anonymous. Ruth's smile matched his. They're also interested in Natalie's financial activities. The trap was closing. Each attempt to escape only entangled them further in the web Shane had woven. Their desperate moves became increasingly erratic, increasingly damaging to themselves. Cameron tried to access the company's servers last night, Herman reported. Security caught him attempting to delete files. Added to the criminal charges, Shane instructed. How many does that make now? Enough for a significant prison term, Shelby confirmed. The evidence is overwhelming. Natalie's social destruction was equally complete. Her former friends, led by Celeste, transformed from allies into enemies. Each secret shared in confidence became ammunition in their social warfare. Did you hear? The whispers followed her. She slept with her husband's brother. The child isn't even Shane's. The pressure drove them apart. Cameron and Natalie's alliance, built on betrayal, crumbled under the weight of consequences. This is your fault, Natalie screamed during another confrontation. You promised we wouldn't get caught. You're the one who couldn't keep quiet, Cameron snarled back. Always showing off. Always spending money we couldn't explain. Their arguments became public spectacles, each accusation driving them further into isolation. Former friends watched their destruction with the same fascination they'd once reserved for their success. The police have issued warrants, Shelby reported. They'll be arrested within days. Good. Shane reviewed the final pieces of his plan. Make sure the media has all the details. The arrests were front-page news. Cameron led away in handcuffs. Natalie's booking photo splashed across social media. Their fall from grace was complete, public, and utterly devastating. Was it worth it? Ruth asked quietly. Shane watched the news coverage, his expression unmoved. Ask them. They're the ones who chose this path. The evidence mounted: bank fraud, embezzlement conspiracy. Each charge another stone in the avalanche of their destruction. They're offering to plead guilty, Shelby announced. Hoping for leniency. No deals, Shane's voice was steel. Let them face the full consequences of their choices. The legal system ground forward, inexorable and unforgiving. Cameron's business empire collapsed, taking his reputation with it. Natalie's social world turned its back, leaving her to face the ruins of her choices alone. Chapter 9. The Serpent's Satisfaction. The courtroom fell silent as Shane took the witness stand. Cameron and Natalie sat at the defense table, their designer clothes unable to hide their defeat. Mr. Greenwood, the prosecutor began, please tell the court about your discovery of the fraud. Shane's testimony was precise, devastating. Each detail another nail in their coffin, each revelation drawing gasps from the spectators. He described the theft, The betrayal, the years of deception without a trace of emotion. She was my wife, he concluded, his voice carrying to the back of the room. He was my brother. They stole my trust, my child, and my life. Natalie crumbled first, her carefully maintained facade breaking under the weight of evidence. Cameron sat rigid, watching his world disappear piece by piece. The defendants have been found guilty on all counts, the judge announced. Sentencing will commence immediately. The penalties were severe: prison time, financial restitution, public disgrace. Shane watched from his seat as their sentences were read, his face a mask of cold satisfaction. You've destroyed us, Natalie whispered as she was led past him. Are you happy now? Happiness was never the goal, he replied quietly. Justice was. Outside the courthouse, reporters clamored for statements. Shane faced them with the same composure he'd shown throughout the trial. Mr. Greenwood, how do you feel about the verdict? Justice has been served, he stated simply. The evidence spoke for itself. The aftermath brought more revelations. Celeste, sensing opportunity, published a tell-all book about Natalie's schemes. Former business partners rushed to distance themselves from Cameron's disgrace. The divorce is final, Shelby reported, placing the documents on Shane's desk. Lily's custody has been awarded to her biological parents, as requested. Shane signed without hesitation. And the will? Amended. She's been removed completely. The final pieces fell into place. Cameron's empire was dismantled, its assets seized to repay his victims. Natalie's social world turned its back completely, leaving her to face prison without a single ally. Was it enough? Ruth asked one evening, watching Shane work late in his office. It will never be enough, he replied. But it's justice. The completion of the Apex Tower coincided with their sentencing. Shane stood at the top, surveying the city he'd helped shape. Behind him, Ruth and Shelby waited with the final reports. Cameron's last appeal was denied, Shelby announced. He's being transferred to maximum security next week. And Natalie's? Still claiming innocence, Ruth replied. But no one's listening anymore. Shane nodded, his attention on the horizon. Some debts cannot be repaid, he mused, but they can definitely be paid in ways no one can imagine. The sun set on his empire, on his victory, on the ruins of those who had dared to betray him. In the end, the architect had built something more lasting than buildings. He had constructed the perfect destruction of his enemies. What now? Ruth asked. Shane straightened his tie, his reflection in the glass showing a man unburdened by mercy. Now we build something new, something better. The city spread before him, a testament to his resilience, his power, his absolute refusal to be broken by betrayal. He had lost a family built on lies, but gained something more valuable, the knowledge that no one would ever dare cross him again. Epilogue. 10 years later. The Greenwood Tower pierced the skyline, its innovative design a testament to its creator's vision. At 60 stories, it dwarfed the Apex Tower, standing as the crowning achievement of Shane Greenwood's architectural empire. Inside his penthouse office, Shane reviewed proposals for his newest project, his reputation now legendary in both architecture and business circles. Ruth entered without knocking, their decades of trust eliminating the need for formality. At 55, she remained his most trusted confidant, her efficiency and loyalty undiminished by time. The interview requests are piling up, she announced, placing a tablet on his desk. Forbes, Fortune, Architectural Digest. They all want to feature you in their Visionaries of the Decade issues. Shane, now approaching 50, had aged like the buildings he designed, becoming more imposing, more refined. Success had silvered his temples, but his eyes retained their calculating intensity. Decline them all, he replied. The work speaks for itself. There's one more thing. Ruth hesitated. Cameron is being released next week. Early parole for good behavior. Shane's hand paused over the blueprints. Location? A halfway house in Newark. The terms of his release prevent him from entering New York State without permission. And Natalie? Still serving her sentence. No possibility of parole for another 5 years. Ruth pulled up detailed reports on her tablet. She's been writing letters, requesting meetings with Lily. Has Lily responded? No. According to her therapist, she's still processing the betrayal. She's 22 now, finishing her master's in psychology. Shane nodded, unsurprised. After the trial, Lily had chosen to distance herself from both biological parents, focusing instead on understanding the psychological impact of their actions. She'd changed her last name to her maternal grandmother's, severing the final ties to her past. Herman called, Ruth continued. The company's quarterly reports show another record year. He wants you to consider taking over as CEO when he retires. The Winters Corporation had flourished under the joint leadership of Herman and Shane, their relationship rebuilt on a foundation of hard lessons and mutual respect. Alice had passed away 3 years ago, but not before seeing her family's legacy secured through her eldest son. Schedule a dinner with him next week, Shane instructed. We'll discuss the transition then. Ruth made the note, then paused. There's one more thing. Shelby sent this. She handed him a newspaper clipping. Celeste Sheridan, Natalie's former friend and social butterfly, had filed for bankruptcy. Her tell-all book royalties had dried up, and her attempts to maintain her lavish lifestyle had led to financial ruin. Ironic, Shane mused. She helped destroy Natalie's social life, profited from it, and still ended up destroying herself. Speaking of destruction, Ruth pulled up another report, Cameron's attempts to rebuild his life haven't gone well. No one will hire him, his former contacts won't return his calls, and his prison record prevents him from handling any financial responsibilities. As intended, Shane returned to his blueprints. Anything else? Your son's school called. James won first prize in the science fair. A rare smile crossed Shane's face. 7 years ago, he'd married Rebecca Chun, a brilliant structural engineer he'd met during the Greenwood Tower project. Their son, James, now 6, showed his father's intelligence and his mother's warmth, a combination that gave Shane hope for a legacy built on something stronger than revenge. Send him something from the office, something he can build with. Ruth smiled, remembering the boy's fascination with his father's architectural models. Already done, Rebecca called too. She's finalizing the environmental impact studies for the Singapore project. The marriage had surprised many who thought Shane incapable of trust after Natalie's betrayal. But Rebecca had proved different, direct, honest, and as dedicated to her work as Shane was to his. Their relationship was built on mutual respect and shared vision, without the superficial charm that had masked Natalie's deception. Any word from the investigation team? Shane asked, referring to the private investigators he still maintained to monitor his former family. Cameron's been making calls, trying to contact old business associates. No one's biting. Ruth brought up detailed reports. He's been writing to Lily too, but like Natalie's letters, they go unanswered. Lily had grown into a remarkable young woman, channeling her traumatic childhood into a determination to help others. Her research focused on the psychological impact of parental betrayal, her own experience informing her academic work. Her dissertation defense is next month, Ruth added. She's still using the scholarship from the Greenwood Foundation. After the trial, Shane had established the foundation, providing educational support for children affected by family trauma. It was his way of turning personal pain into societal benefit, though he never sought recognition for the initiative. Make sure she has everything she needs, he instructed. But maintain distance, as always. The phone buzzed, Herman requesting an early meeting about the CEO transition. At 75, he was ready to step down, having rebuilt his company's reputation after Cameron's disgrace. Tell him I'll be there in an hour, Shane decided. And Ruth? Send flowers to Alice's grave. It's her birthday. As Ruth left to make arrangements, Shane stood at his office window, surveying the city he'd helped reshape. The Greenwood Tower reflected the setting sun, its glass and steel a monument to resilience and reinvention. His empire had grown beyond architecture. The Greenwood Group now encompassed real estate, technology, and sustainable development. Each success a reminder to those who had betrayed him of what they had lost. A notification pinged on his phone, a message from Rebecca with a photo of James playing with architectural blocks. The boy had his father's focus, carefully constructing complex structures with natural intuition. The sight triggered a memory of Lily at that age, before the truth shattered their family's facade. But unlike that false foundation, Shane had built something real with Rebecca and James. A family based on truth, respect, and genuine connection. Mr. Greenwood? His secretary's voice interrupted his thoughts. Your brother's lawyer is on line 1. Something about a request for employment references. Tell him all inquiries about former employees should go through HR. Shane's voice held no emotion. Standard policy. The message was clear. Cameron would receive no help, no mercy, no chance at redemption. 10 years had not softened Shane's resolve or dulled the edge of his retribution. Later that evening, at home in his new penthouse, Shane reviewed his son's science project photos while Rebecca discussed her latest engineering challenges. The foundation design needs adjustment, she explained, spreading calculations across their dining table. The soil composition is more complex than initial surveys suggested. Show me, Shane replied, their professional expertise blending seamlessly with their personal life. James burst in, excited to share more details about his science fair victory. Dad, my building didn't fall during the earthquake simulation, not even with maximum shake. Shane listened as his son explained the structural principles he'd intuited, recognizing the passion that had driven his own career. This was his true legacy, not the destruction of those who betrayed him, but the creation of something genuine and lasting. Ruth's evening update arrived via encrypted email. Cameron's job applications, rejected by 15 companies. Natalie's prison behavior report, still unrepented. Lily's latest research publication, receiving academic acclaim. Herman's succession plans. Board unanimously supports Shane. Greenwood Foundation, helping 50 new students this semester. Celeste's bankruptcy proceedings. All assets to be liquidated. The report concluded with a note about his upcoming projects. 3 new towers, an innovative urban renewal initiative, and a revolutionary sustainable housing concept. Success, as always, was the best revenge. A decade had transformed the players in this drama. Herman had found redemption through honesty and restitution. Lily had turned trauma into purpose. Ruth and Shelby had proven that loyalty, when given to the worthy, could withstand any storm. But some remained unchanged. Cameron and Natalie, trapped in prisons of their own making. One literal, one metaphorical. Their betrayal had cost them everything. Family, freedom, future. Their destruction stood as a warning to others who might consider crossing Shane Greenwood. Celeste's fall demonstrated the fleeting nature of social power built on betrayal. Her bankruptcy mirrored Natalie's moral bankruptcy, a fitting end to their toxic alliance. The Winters Corporation, now stronger than ever, prepared to enter a new era under Shane's leadership. Herman's decision to entrust his legacy to the son he had once doubted represented a final victory over old prejudices and manipulations. Shane's new family flourished, built on the lessons of his past. Rebecca's intelligence and integrity complemented his strength and vision. James represented hope for a future where trust and truth prevailed over deception and betrayal. The Greenwood Tower stood as a symbol of this transformation, rising from the ashes of betrayal, shaped by determination, reaching heights his enemies could only dream of. Each successful project, each professional accolade, each happy moment with his new family reinforced the truth. Some debts could never be repaid, but the proper payment could take forms no one imagined. Shane had not only survived betrayal, he had transcended it, building an empire on the ruins of those who thought to destroy him. As night fell over the city, lights blazed in the Greenwood Tower, a beacon of triumph over treachery. In his home office, Shane reviewed plans for his next project, his son playing with building blocks nearby, his wife discussing structural innovations, and Ruth sending final updates on those who had learned the cost of betrayal. The architect had built something greater than revenge. He had constructed a legacy that would outlast all attempts to tear it down. In the end, that was the truest victory of all. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, Check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.